Today, we're going to dig into a real-world case of workplace harassment, and more importantly, we'll look at the specific legal tools you can actually use to fight back. We're going to see how someone who felt totally powerless managed to stop something awful from happening and take back control of their life. So let's jump right in.
At the very heart of this story is a human being. This quote, it just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? This isn't just about some abstract rule being broken. It's about the real, painful impact of feeling completely exposed and utterly alone, especially at your job, a place you're supposed to feel safe.
And that feeling of helplessness? That brings us to the big question we're tackling here. When the very systems you think are there to protect you don't seem to work, where do you even begin? What can you actually do to fight back? Well, we're about to find out.
So, to really understand why the solution works so well, first we have to walk through the problem itself. Let's get into the absolute nightmare this person found themselves in, a situation that all started with a massive breach of trust.
Okay, so our client was a warehouse worker. He had this horrible suspicion that a former housemate had done something just unthinkable, that they'd hacked his devices, secretly recorded private, intimate footage, and then started sharing it with his colleagues at work. I mean, can you even imagine the instant dread and humiliation?
Facing a situation like that, well, it led to the next phase of his experience. It's a feeling that, unfortunately, a lot of victims of harassment know way too well. Feeling completely and utterly trapped, with absolutely no power.
And look, he did everything you're supposed to do. He went to the police, he reported it to his employer, and what happened? Nothing. No action was taken. He was just left to deal with the whispers, the looks from his coworkers every single day, with zero support.
This quote right here, it just nails the dilemma he was in. He knew what was going on, but he had no way to prove it. He couldn't get his hands on the very material being used against him. And without proof, how could he show anyone how bad it was? He was just stuck in this terrible limbo.
But feeling trapped is not the end of this story. Not even close. This is where everything changes. This is where a sharp, focused legal plan cut right through all the inaction and finally gave him a clear path forward.
The strategy was honestly brilliantly simple. It really just boiled down to two key moves. First, use a clever tool called a subject access request to demand info from the employer. And second, send a very serious cease and desist letter straight to the person he believed was responsible.
So what on earth is a subject access request, or SAR? Well, under data protection law, it's basically your legal right to go to any organization and say, show me every piece of personal information you have on me. And in this case, that meant forcing the employer to search everything, their emails, their work chats, all of it, for any sign of this footage. And here's the crucial part. It puts the burden of proof on them.
And that second tool, the cease and desist letter. You can think of this as a legal warning shot fired right across the bow. It tells the person responsible in no uncertain terms, what you're doing is illegal. Stop it now or there will be serious legal consequences. It's an incredibly powerful way to draw a line in the sand.
Okay, so we've got the problem and we've got the plan. But the billion-dollar question is, did it actually work? Let's take a look at the outcome and the incredible relief that it brought.
I mean, just look at the contrast here. It's a complete transformation. Before, his employer was doing nothing. After, they were legally forced to get involved. Before, he had no proof. After, the evidence was confirmed. And the most important thing, the harassment that had been going on, it finally stopped. This wasn't a small change, it was a total 180.
So here's the breakthrough moment. The subject access request worked like a charm. The employer's internal search found it. They confirmed that yes, private material had been passed around among employees. This was it. This was the hard proof that he desperately needed and couldn't get before. For the client, the outcome was just a complete vindication. It proved that his fears were real, that he wasn't just imagining things. The person responsible got a serious legal warning, and the harassment was over. But maybe most importantly, it showed that his courage to take a stand, even when he felt completely alone, is what made all the difference. This case offers some really powerful lessons for all of us. So let's boil this down to the key takeaways and really understand why this particular approach was just so successful. So why was this two-step combo so good? Well, for one, it was swift. It brought things to a head quickly. It was also confidential, which meant avoiding a public, messy court battle. That, in turn, made it cost-effective, saving him the unbelievable stress and expense of a lawsuit. But honestly, the number one reason it worked? It was effective. It did the one thing he needed it to do. It made the harassment stop.
And all of this leaves us with one last big thought. As more and more of our lives are lived online, harassment can feel like it's everywhere and impossible to pin down. In this world of screenshots, DMs, and hidden data, are these direct, powerful legal tools like SARs and cease and desist letters becoming our new essential toolkit for digital self-defense? It's a really interesting question to think about.